Hello, this is CXO-Cockpit, a partners webinar. Let me take you through today's presentation. Just to introduce myself. As you can see, picture of myself on the screen. My name is Alfonso. I'm responsible for new business and existing customers across the UK, Ireland and Nordics, but today's presentation is an overview of our proposition for all our partners globally. And you can see the agenda on the right hand side. Today's webinar is going to be around about 30 minutes long. We're going to talk about the CXO customer value proposition. So what is it that we take to market? Then we're going to talk a little bit about the value proposition to our partners and what it actually means to you guys. Then I'm going to give you a quick demonstration of the solution so you can see what it looks like. Then we'll come back to a couple of slides on the partner agreement, the different incentive types that we have to offer. And if we've got time, I will take some questions at the end. You should be able to see a chat box, which I encourage you to pop in any questions, and I'll take those at the end of the session. So a couple of slides on CXO-Cockpit. First one is, it's our 10th year anniversary. 2007 we were formed. We're headquartered in the Netherlands, in Europe. We have a number of different regional hubs. The development of the software is done in the Netherlands. And today we've got a little over 80 customers currently using CXO-Cockpit globally, live, using the system today. Those customers, some of them are listed here. We can see a range of different kinds of organizations, but most of them, if I dare say, are $1 billion and above in terms of revenue. These tend to be the typical organizations that have the underlying source systems that our software sits on top of, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a couple of moments. But you'll notice a broad range of different types of organizations, from financial services through to manufacturing organizations. So in terms of what our value proposition is to the marketplace, let's just talk about the traditional EPM reporting challenges and EPM enterprise performance management reporting challenges. I mean, typically we tend to see that data is stored in EPM systems. Some examples of those EPM systems are listed on the left-hand side of the screen. And when the Office of Finance is having to think about preparing to do month-end reporting, we then tend to see that the data is then extracted outside of those key systems using different Excel reporting solutions or add-ins. Generally then comments are added, data is joined together using multiple spreadsheets, calculations are performed, joining together previous set of data with the current data from the previous month. There's a lot of manual activity that takes place to actually produce the report book, and then you can see towards the right hand side, ultimately a report book is produced, ready to send to the audience, and that tends to be either the original Excel spreadsheet or maybe a PowerPoint presentation. But what's interesting is that this solution is not dynamic. It's very high potential for errors. So what do we want to do differently within CXO-Cockpit? Well, we want to offer a digital performance reporting process for those for that particular challenge. And typically we can see those EPM systems on the left hand side. So SAP, in the SAP world we've got examples like SAP BPC, SAP BW. In the Oracle world, Oracle HFM, Oracle Essbase, the new PBCS connector as well. IBM, we're talking about TM1 there. Obviously Microsoft Analysis Service we can connect to. Obviously Tagetic planning solution. And then finally OneStream as a planning and consolidation solution. CXO-Cockpit will connect directly to these underlying systems. Once we've connected to them, we'll bring them into CXO-Cockpit, and then we've developed a key number of features within the solution that enable us to deliver the value to those end customers. So the first step in our process is the connectivity, but then the features to improve the reporting process. And we can see the first three features on the screen. We've got a very clever way of automating the production of the report pack. And we've got a very clever commentary collection workflow process within the solution. You can take any individual dashboard and collaborate with a colleague and ask individual questions, which is very neat within the solution. Of course, not only the connectivity to those source systems on the left-hand side, we've developed a further connector that allows us to bring in data from other data sources too. Of course, you can consume the data via your desktop, but also via mobile and iPad. And as you would expect, it's dynamic, so therefore you can drill down and do analysis within the solution itself. And the final two features, it is a 100% on-premise solution currently, and you're able to do calculations within CXO in the same way as you would be able to do in Excel. So we've not taken away anything from the Office of Finance. In fact, we've enhanced and taken away some of the problems. So just to be very clear, because one of the key questions that we get asked fairly often from partners is around CXO-Cockpit compared to BI solutions. So CXO-Cockpit is not a business intelligence tool. Traditionally, BI tools are made for operational dashboards or operational reporting, where you're interested in the transactional level detail of a particular organization. They tend to lack financial reporting capabilities, so they don't understand the difference between an income statement and then that sort of formatting capability needs to be built into a BI tool. They also struggle with connectivity to the EPM systems, and generally the EPM systems have developed just simple Excel add-ins to their systems because they haven't created any connectors, and that's where we come in. BI tools tend to be very much IT owned, so if you think about the business objects of the world or the Oracle OBI solutions, then you'll be thinking that typically they're managed by the IT department. Whereas CXO-Cockpit is aimed squarely at the Office of Finance. We've got templates that are aimed at the finance function. An example of a particular customer that was won through a partner in the Netherlands, as you can see in the top right-hand side. The specific challenge that they had was around customer reporting. Some specific KPIs were delivered in Excel from the underlying source system. Maintaining that Excel out of the EPM and constantly refreshing the data was very, very difficult and cumbersome because it was manual. Speed of delivery, so the time it took to actually get the data out, manipulated it into Excel, and then deliver it to the end users was obviously very time consuming. So that impacted upon decision-making capability. And finally, there was no mobile capability other than to open an Excel document on a mobile device. But obviously you have the challenges associated with Excel open on a mobile device. It doesn't really fit into the actual size of the screen itself. So those are the immediate challenges. CXO was deployed through the partner, and there were 5 key areas of value delivered to that end customer. Obviously speeding up the reporting, controlling the data from the underlying source system, standardizing the data that was coming in, so there's no argument about which is the right data. Bringing in data from multiple sources as well for those KPIs was part of the project. And you can see their direct access, so direct access to the underlying source system, refreshing on a very, very frequent basis. And of course, CXO-Cockpit is very interactive, and probably the highest score in any survey that's done by our customers is around it's very easy to use. So let me show you what the solution looks like instead of just talking about it. Let's jump into a demo, and then we'll come back to the presentation to do the value for partners in a couple of seconds. So first of all, I'm going to go to an internet browser and open up CXO-Cockpit. Here we have CXO-Cockpit in my browser. I'm just going to press PF1, which is going to just fill the complete screen so that everybody can see the demonstration very clearly. Here we have CXO-Cockpit. At the top of the screen we can see I've signed in. This is my profile here. We can see I've got a small avatar of myself. I have also access to this CXO Designer, which is the back end of the solution. Obviously that means I'm an administrator role. There's a couple of other speech bubbles here and notifications. I'll come back to those in a couple of moments. Along the top we can see number of menus. These menus are where all of the dashboards are stored. The names of these menus are completely customizable, so they can be changed by the individual customer. Also what we can do is essentially, as soon as you find a particular dashboard that you're interested in, you can click on the actual thumbnail image, and straight away the image will a dashboard will render itself onto the screen here, as you can see. So let me just go back to the home page. On this particular home page we're looking at a dashboard for a company called Comma Communications Inc. It's a fictitious company that we've created. And when I look at the actual entity structure, as I drop down this drop-down list, we can see the entity structure listed here from Comma Communications at the top through to USA, Europe, South America, and so on. Now this is one example of the connectivity to the underlying source system. The way that CXO-Cockpit has been set up, the entity is essentially a box waiting to view the data coming in from the underlying source system. In my example on the screen, I'm actually connected to an HFM Oracle database, so I'm reading the data direct from there. Within CXO-Cockpit, we're not creating this structure. This is one of the advantages of the connectors, is connecting direct to that underlying source system. You'll also notice the other filters at the top showing me the periods. So we can see here I'm currently on September. I'm looking at a year of data for 2016. And I'm looking at the currency US dollars, or obviously I could switch it to a local currency too. At the top of the screen we can see a table of information. Then we can see a chart of information. And then when I scroll down a little bit further, we can see I have two tabs, one called Point of View Comments, and the second one called the Subsidiary Comments. On the Point of View Comments we can see the commentary that's been added against this particular dashboard that's visible above. And we can see here that there's a commentary workflow that's taken place, showing me the group level overview and then the 4 divisions below with individual comments. How we enter that information I will show you in a couple of moments. In terms of analyzing data within CXO-Cockpit, well, that's done quite simply by using the interactivity and dynamic drill down capability. To demonstrate that, let me show you a couple of features. First one is when we look at this column of information, I can switch it from budget to forecast. So I'm looking at year-to-date actuals versus forecast, and therefore I can look at the tolerances. And here I'm looking at a variance which is showing me the variances of direct costs is red. So CXO-Cockpit recognizes that straight away. And we can see that the costs have gone above a particular threshold. So I'm interested to find out what is the reason for that. Here there's a small plus sign next to the direct costs, so then I can drill into it. And here I can actually see that it looks like the variance is within professional services. So again, let's expand that a little bit further. Again, as we come down, we can see that the variance seems to be within legal. So what I want to do now is look at the chart below by clicking on legal and refocus the chart below to show me legal as a particular cost center, and look now at the individual entities that make up the spend for legal. we can see that the legend is showing me forecast and the actual is in red. And the overspend obviously then moves into red. It's in green is the actuals, and then it moves into red when it's overspend. So here we can see South America have actually overspent. We can also see the Europe have overspent, but I would say I need to investigate South America because it's way beyond the forecasted amount. So I can click on the chart. I can refocus my image. So now I've just clicked on to the South America, and I've dropped down to the South America region because it's showing me the 3 individual countries. If we just cast our eyes to the top of the screen, follow the mouse up to the top, you can see the entity has dropped straight to South America, whereas previously it was on the group level. So again, I want to explore the data a bit further. Brazil seems to be my problem child, so I'm going to click onto the chart. I'm hovering over the bar chart now. I can't drill down any further, so I'm obviously at the lowest point within my within the hierarchy of this particular business. What I'm curious to find out is why we've overspent. I'm looking down at the point of view comments, and I can't see, other than the standard comments that are in here, I can't see any reasons as to why we've overspent. So from a group level, I'm curious to find out whether the legal issues over in Brazil would impact upon the group level, and so therefore I want to now collaborate with a colleague. So to do that, I start a conversation. I do that by clicking on this Start Conversation button, and let's just start a conversation. So let's start a conversation. Let's add some participants. Let's add Michael, who is the the controller for South America. And we can see now I've got a new conversation tab that started. I can now start to type in. So I can type in my information, I can click send. Now it's recorded this information against me. It's going to go off to Michael in South America. So what will he see when he signs in? Well, let's sign in as Michael. So let me log out and let me sign in as Michael. So when Michael signs in, a couple of things you'll see immediately. Number one is obviously signed in as a different user. Number two, you can see that he only has access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 menu items, not the rest of them. So obviously that answers a question about security, in that you can actually limit the viewing ability of the solution by the individual roles within the solution. You can also see that Michael can only see the entities that he's responsible for. Now, when we look at the entity structure, all he can see is South America and below. So he can't see any higher than that. He can't go up to the group level, you know, comma. It won't allow him to actually view that information. It just doesn't exist within the structure that we've allowed from a security perspective. But the reason I actually brought you here was to share with you a collaboration question. Now, you can imagine that different time zones, he was probably not at work that time, so he will have received an email because he wouldn't have been logged into CXO-Cockpit, indicating to him that he has a conversation started. And when he signs in to CXO-Cockpit, you can see right at the top that in this history of conversations, he has a number of conversations outstanding. And here is one, costs over forecast. And so if I click onto here, the first thing that will happen is the screen will reshape to exactly the same view that I had, which is the this homepage, Brazil, highlighted legal, right down to the lowest level within the hierarchy, and then plus my comment at the bottom here saying the costs in Brazil seem to be over forecast, etc. So this gives him an opportunity and he can type in, you know, whatever the answer may be. And then that's it. So we can have conversation. If he wanted to, we can even add participants, because it could be that maybe he doesn't have the answer, but one of his colleagues does. So you can even then start to add additional people to the conversation as well. So that's very simply how you would do the conversation aspect of CXO-Cockpit. So let me just come back to the main application here. What I'd like to do now is show you a little bit more about how we automate the report pack process, and to do that I'm going to show you the storyboard feature, which is here, maintain storyboards. I've got a storyboard already created, which is monthly management report pack. We can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 pages already created. An agenda page, second page is conditional line items, third page, and then the fourth page. So I'm going to do a little P&L, add it in between here, then we'll come back to here and automate the production of this particular report pack. So first thing is, let's go to the P&L. So here is my profit and loss for the entity, Communications Inc. We can see that my commentary is blank because I'm at the group level. I can see that the commentary from the USA, South America and Asia, there's 3 has been written, but what's missing is Europe. So we need to get Europe in there before I do the group level commentary. So let's add commentary for Europe. So let's sign in as the European controller. And the European controller is Antonio. So you can see I'm signed in now as Antonio. We can see that he's looking at Europe as an entity. I need to go to the P&L. And we can see that he hasn't made any comments, but when we click on the subsidiary comments, Italy and United Kingdom have made some comments, so he needs to roll these 2 comments up to here, and he does that by clicking on here, copy from the children, here we go, and then he's then going to lock that down and then submit it to the group level. So once that's done, let's sign out. Let's go back and sign in as Alfonso. Let me now go back to the P&L. So I'm now signed in as Alfonso. As you can see here, I'm at the P&L. We can see the point of view comments, mine are still blank. Subsidiary comments now says in brackets 4, which obviously means that, yeah, there we go. Europe, Italy, United Kingdom have all been written here. Asia is in here. So now what I need to do is copy these into the point of view comments. So using the same process, copy from the children. But then what I want to do is do final group level edit. So here we're using an editor. This allows me the ability to actually change any of this as I wish. So as you can see here, I can add information. So I can actually add information. Obviously I can change this. It's a full editor, as you can see here. I can change information like colors. I can even add information. So if I wanted to add a further chart that's not included in CXO-Cockpit, so maybe I want to add some additional information like a chart, I can actually do that as well. So you can see here I've got group level inside, I've added a chart. I didn't change any of this, but I could have deleted it or changed it as I so wish. What I'm going to do now is then add it to that report pack. So we do that by coming up to this add to storyboard mode. Select the storyboard that we wish. So it's the monthly management report pack. Where do I wish to insert it after? So after the front page, click add page. As soon as I've done so, it's now been added to that report pack. So let's go back up to the storyboard feature. Look at the monthly management report pack. Here is the first page, the agenda. Here is the P&Ls now in the second position. Here is that conditional line item comments and etc. So straight away we can see that I can very quickly add comments to a page and then add it to a report book. But obviously once that report book's been created, I wouldn't need to do that next month. The only thing I would need to do is the commentary against it. So that's one less step to do. But it's very easy to add these pages, as we can see here. I have a number of options open to me in terms of distribution. And the first one is, some folks say, we still want the ability to drop it into PDF, PowerPoint or Excel. Well, CXO-Cockpit allows that, as you can see here. I can also share this as well. So I can actually share this with another individual. So I could go back to Antonio, I could share it with him, I could save the changes. So now this particular report pack, monthly management report pack with these 5, would be available to him, but he would only see what he's allowed to see. So even though it might be created at a group level, he's only going to be able to see Europe because that's all he has access to. And finally, I can actually play this as a storyboard. So let's just play this and run it as a live storyboard. So here is my front page. Let's go to the second page. Here is the profit and loss statement. We can see my group level insight, my chart, the information at the bottom, but equally I have the ability to use all of that wonderful drill down capability you saw me a little bit earlier on. So I can actually look into net sales. I can click on consumer electronics. The chart on the right hand side is changing. I notice there's a lull in sales over here. I want to explore it further. Which particular customers were we selling to? Well, here I can drill into the information within the dashboard. So it's very interactive in that regard. And the final one in this process I'm going to show you, which is just this particular chart. It's called conditional line item comments. The only reason for that is that, as you can see here, calculations have been added into CXO-Cockpit in order to actually do a little what-if statement. So if the variance is greater than 20% of the budget versus the actuals here in September, then it just basically says explain when it's above 20%, allowing the user to click into here and now add the comments. So not just in a box at the bottom of the screen, but you can see even in line with the actual detail itself. Okay, there are many other features I could share with you, but this is meant to be a very, very short demonstration, just giving you some of the key features of the solution. I'm going to come back to, I'm going to stop here, and then I'm going to go back to the presentation and finish off. I'm going to finish off my presentation. Okay. So what is the value proposition to partners? So the benefits to our partners, we've sort of put these into 4 categories. Strategic relevance, which I'll go into each of those in each of these in a couple of moments. Additional revenue, growth potential for yourselves. Obviously, support of CXO-Cockpit, and then the attractive rewards that we'll talk about as well. So from a strategic relevance perspective, we've seen that most of our partners tend not to operate the C-level suite. So our solution is aimed at the CFO. It's the CFO who wants to have the company's performance dashboard on his iPad. And so therefore we now seem to see that partners tend to now be able to have an opportunity to have a conversation at the right level with a specific product that delivers a solution for those CFOs. So now you've got access to the C-level suite. And obviously the benefits are that they connect, our system connects to their underlying source system. So it's a solution that's very much beneficial for partners. The second area is obviously potential for revenue growth. We're bringing to partners the opportunity to have access to new business that you didn't potentially have access to previously, which increases revenue. And the revenue can come from a number of different areas. One is the ability to implement our solution, obviously, to be able to charge your day rates for those particular customers. An area that we don't do, and this is an area that we rely on our partners to deliver for us, which is advising and consultancy. So it could be that a customer says, we want to have a wraparound service that reviews our current month-end reporting process to incorporate this new technology of CXO-Cockpit. So what else should we be doing to actually maximize the value and maximize the assets that we're just about to buy. So there's now a advising and consultancy opportunity that you guys can actually bring to the table. That's something that we don't do, and as from a true partnership perspective, from our solution and plus you guys, it's really beneficial to deliver that to the customers. And then, of course, the ongoing support. They may be very acquisitive in terms of buying new businesses, and therefore they've got new data, they've got new ways of presenting information on new KPIs, and therefore you need to be there available to actually address their individual needs and therefore be part of that growth and development of the customer. From our perspective, we want to support our partners, so we'll put together a partner program which involves joint marketing campaigns to reach new customers. We'll think about and put together online lead generation for new customers, new partners. We've developed a partner portal which allows you to register leads and identify what's happening with that particular lead, and keep us up to date with what's happening as well. And of course, people like myself will be very happy to collaborate with yourselves and act as your voice within CXO-Cockpit so that we're delivering the best service to our end customers as possible. And from a reward perspective, so we have sort of two levels of activity for our partners. A referral partner, and that generates a reward of 10% of the sale, a software sale with a new customer, and then there's a full sales partner, and you can see the different ranges there, up to 35% of the actual contract value of the license deal that is sold. So there's very, very attractive in terms of the actual partner activities. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. I'm going to do the final thing, which was to have a look at the questions. So just bear with me 1 second while I just review some of the questions. Okay, so I have a question regarding, well, I'll read it out. Is security for data access connected to the source system, or is it set up within CXO-Cockpit? It's an interesting question because it's slightly different for different source systems that we connect to. So let me give you the simplest example. Within Essbase, Microsoft Essbase, we can connect direct to Microsoft Essbase and read the hierarchy, the chart of accounts, all of the structure, all the members within the actual system itself. We can also even inherit the security settings from the individual users. So if you have the same users in CXO-Cockpit, we can even inherit that information as well. If we look at an alternative system like SAP EPC or maybe even HFM, then we would be, sorry, not SAP EPC, but maybe HFM, we would not be connected direct. We would be moving the data from the HFM to a staging area, and then CXO-Cockpit would be sat on the top of that staging area. The staging area would be an SQL Microsoft database that we sit on top of. In that particular instance, because we're not connecting directly to the underlying source system, we also are not connecting to the underlying security access for the users. So therefore, we would not be able to inherit that. The setup would have to be done within CXO-Cockpit, and that's in that administration function that I didn't show you today. I just alluded to it actually being there. I hope that's answered your question. So let me just take the next question. How long does it take to set up CXO-Cockpit at a client? Well, typically we quote that a client would typically, it's 15 to 20 days. So let's say a month's worth of activity would be required to set up CXO-Cockpit. But it all depends on how many source systems we're connecting to. It also depends on how many financial reports are being created, as you saw in my demonstration. It could be that there are 50 reports, it could be that there are 100 reports. So the activity is all based on you know, how much work is done. The scope of work would actually outline that. But typically we generally stayed about 15 to 20 days worth of activity. Okay, let me just check, see if there are any other questions. No, that's it. Okay, so all that leaves me to do is just to say thank you very much for attending the partner presentation today. If you want to talk to me in a bit more detail, my details are on the screen. There are a number of other colleagues who can actually talk to you about our partner relationship. We're happy to hear from you guys very soon. So thank you very much and goodbye.